Okay, I think I understand you quite clearly. So, um, let me tell you what I'm noticing, right? There's
Okay.
something missing from this conversation. There's some context missing. And this happens very often. Um, I teach mathematics, you're aware of that. And it happens all the time in the math classroom as well, where we're presented with a problem. And the students looking at the problem and they're bringing tools to the table and they start trying to apply these tools. But step one in any type of problem solving is identifying the problem.
Hmm.
And a lot of people skip that step. They skip over it. So one thing that I like about what you're doing is that you're not skipping over that. That you're clearly identifying the issue, which is that race is made up, but racism is real and has real effects. I like that. Okay. I think that that is very positive. Like I said, it's very specific to like the individual. It is something any individual can do. It does not, I think that as you were talking it out, you were kind of representing the idea that, yeah, if everyone were to make that choice, this world would be a different world, but that world doesn't exist, right? And
Hmm.
so I don't know if you think that by doing that or promoting that, that world will come to pass. Are you saying that? I just want to be clear on that before I go any further.
Well, I mean, what is any movement, any idea, any belief that you're espousing and trying to embody yourself? That's what you're trying to do, right?
Well, yourself, but I'm talking about the world at large.
Well, sure, but I do think that I think that if I don't do it, right, if I keep it to myself, if I say nothing, the chances are zero. And if I do say something, and if I do try to behave this way and show people a way that you can do both things, like you said about, not ignoring the problem, but taking this one step and still being able to address those problems and still, a lot of the pushback that I get is, oh, you want to pretend racism doesn't exist. No, of course not. That would be terrible and ridiculous. I would not ever want to do that. But there is a way to do what I'm saying. And I do think it's possible. And I do think that, the first step is to, be it yourself. And then maybe it'll rub off on somebody else. Then maybe it'll rub off on somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And then who knows? I'm not saying this will have this effect, but it can. I believe that it can. And I believe it's a good thing. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. And I'm
Okay.
not the only person.
All right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I believe that it's a good thing too. I definitely don't believe that it can have the effect that you're saying. As someone who has been, trying to affect change in this space for like decades now, I don't believe that. Um, but I do find your idealism. It's nice. It's refreshing. We need that energy. We need you guys out here. So I appreciate it. But again, you
let
kind
me ask. Hold on. Let me clarify. So, what you're saying is that there's no way that we would ever be able to get most people on board with what I'm saying.
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that at the time where that happens,
Uh-huh.
it's not going to be because of what is happening now. Like because your decision to make that choice of separating the
Oh,
race
okay.
and racism thing.
So you're saying if we are to transcend race, it won't be through, a kind of domino effect of individuals taking this position.
That's 100% correct. Yeah.
It would be something else. What would that something else be?
We could talk about that. That's kind of the direction that we're kind of heading, right? This is to go back to what I was trying to say about what context was missing, right? Which is
Hmm.
like, how did all this happen, right? That part is consistently sliced off the conversation, and it's a pivotal part of the conversation. And the reason why people slice it off is because then you have to deal with more of the reality of the situation, which complicates some of these ideas that you're putting forth.
Okay.
So I want to challenge you to incorporate more about how we got these categories, how all this structure was created, and and for what purpose,
Hmm.
and what that legacy is like now. That all of that is ignored, I feel like, by a lot of people who are speaking on this subject now, or at the very least, it's dismissed. It's only brought up as a dismissal. I mean, I could put forth a really long video reel of people, for instance, in the black conservative space, who only bring up the legacy of racism in order to dismiss it as not a concern. So that's
Okay.
what I worry about is that being left out of the conversation, because that's a huge part of the identification of the problem. If you're ignoring that part of it, you're not truly identifying the problem. You're ignoring a dimension of the problem that's enormous. And so you can't really present a solution to a problem that you're ignoring that drastic a percentage of the foundation of the problem. So that's
Hmm.
kind of my worry, is that people are bringing solutions to bear without having fully fleshed out the problem, and then our focus is there instead of on what might actually make a difference, which we can talk about after this. But like, just to get your response on all that.
Um, so we're talking about, the legacy of slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, the creation of racial categories as a justification for oppression of certain groups of people, that sort of thing, and acknowledging that as the basis of the problem, or the inception of the problem, and the reason why the problem has, concatenated into this, all these different factors and all these different things that are at play at the same time. Am I touching on what you were getting at there?
Yeah, correct. That's right.
Okay. Okay, so I mean, I can't speak for anybody really but myself, but I definitely acknowledge all those things, and I do discuss them. Um, Sometimes depending on what it is I'm writing, there's word count and stuff like that, so it's not everything's a book, but I do my best to I don't think I've ever dismissed anything like that, but I do my best to at least touch on it, to acknowledge that yes, I'm aware. Of course, I'm aware. I mean, I am descended from that very thing. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's not far from my mind ever, and I definitely don't dismiss it. So, uh, I don't share the attitude of many of the people you were referencing there in terms of that. Insofar as that's what they're doing. I mean, you know, I
I
don't know
mean,
if I would
I
agree
wasn't.
with
I mean,
it,
it
but
wasn't an accusation. This is an observation. Like, I mean, I don't know
no, no,
why.
I
I
get
don't
it.
know why they're doing it. I don't know. I can just watch it happen over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So, like, I mean, I'm just making an
Yeah, yeah.
observation. And it wasn't even about you necessarily, but I really
Oh
just want to.
no,
I just want to know
just clarifying.
what do you think though about you know you're saying, I mean, even in your answer there, you're kind of saying, well, I mention it, like it's almost like it's not a main focus. And I guess for me,
Well, it
someone who has,
depends.
hang on, let me finish. Someone who has studied this for a long time, I don't see how you could be critically thinking about the problem without making that a main focus. So, like, that's why I want to learn more about how you're thinking about it so that I can understand, where you're coming from. How have you taken the focus off of that so that we can focus on whether you've done that in a meaningful way or not?